Hi, everyone. Landry Ethredge here with Ethredge Counseling Group and Dr. Etta Gant, trauma specialist here at Ethredge Counseling in Charleston, South Carolina. Today, we're talking about OCD, but particularly how to talk about OCD if you have the diagnosis or if you're the loved one of someone who has OCD, sort of how to be a support to them and how to kind of dialogue about that. So, welcome, Etta. Can you first kind of give us an idea of what OCD is and maybe what it isn't?
hmm yeah, so to help someone with OCD that you loved, it's really the first step is to try to understand what it is, because it can be hard to understand if you're not going through it. But really quick, the O is for obsessive. That means the person with OCD is suffering from intrusive thoughts, which means usually really disturbing, unwanted, and unsettling thoughts about something bad happening or doing something bad to themselves or someone else that are typically unrealistic or not going to happen, but they feel very real to that person so much that it like causes a nervous system response where they feel the need to do something to make the thoughts go away, which leads to the compulsion, which might be, it could be anything from hand washing to an internal prayer to um, checking the assignment or anything over and over and over again, or seeking reassurance, or let's see what else. Lots of things. Cleaning, internal prayers, having to say a certain word over and over again to try to relax the nervous system. And it's causing them a lot of distress. They might be disassociating. And it is inhibiting like their ability to fully enjoy life as much as they would like to. So understanding that is really important. It's not just anxiety. Your loved one isn't just a clean freak. It's a totally unique condition that can be manageable, but it just takes time and understanding to kind of unravel some of the intensity of it and the habits of it. Um, so yeah, understanding it's really important.
So I know you're going to give us tips on from both perspectives, whether you are the loved one
hmm
or if you're the person experiencing OCD. Uh,
hmm
let's start there. If you are talking to somebody who does have OCD,
hmm
first of all, why is it important to talk about it? Is it important to talk about it? And also, how do you go about talking about it?
hmm hmm So on both ends, I mean, just talking about it's important because OCD thrives on shame and isolation. Often the person experiencing the OCD or the intrusive thoughts feels ashamed for having the thoughts and for thinking that way, or they're too afraid to share the thoughts because even though they know that they're intrusive and they don't feel real to them, they're worried someone else might think it's real. Let's say their intrusive thought is, I'm going crazy, or um, I'm losing it or something like that. But it's really an intrusive thought. It's not necessarily what's happening. They're afraid to share that with someone because they're worried that, they're spiraling. That person might think that they need to be locked up or something like that. Those are the thoughts that are often
Mm.
feels too scary to share, because it feels like someone might not understand. Um, and so talking about it, that understanding what it is, to helps to reduce a lot of that fear and that shame. Also helps to work on our relationship with control because it's letting go. And it's feeling empowered to explain what you're going through. So all of those hit to kind of some of the underlying factors of OCD. So just being able to talk about it can make a big difference.
Mm. So that is sort of that is a mechanism of change. That is a tool that can help reduce OCD. Talking about it can be one of the tools in treating it.
Yeah. It's one of the like best interventions for it, but one of the hardest to do. It's might feel simple, or just saying I have OCD is one step, but then being able to actually explain or express with someone you trust what those intrusive thoughts are. That can feel like the scariest thing in the entire world.
Absolutely. Um, So, are there particular things that you would maybe suggest sharing with your loved one if you have OCD? Um, in terms of like, I don't know, asking for support or anything like that, anything in particular?
Yeah, so if you are the person with OCD, breaking it down and sharing with someone kind of what each part of that looks like for you, the O, the C, and the D, how it's causing you distress or discomfort in your life. And then also being able to share if you can identify how someone can support you and maybe letting them know what your triggers are. Hey, please don't send me articles about X, Y, and Z that always kind of spike some intrusive thoughts. Or part of my, you could share part of my OCD is because I'm people pleasing and have a hard time setting boundaries. If you, let's say with their partner, if you could help me say no more, so I can spend a little bit more time de-stressing and unwinding, that can help a lot. Um, if I'm getting activated, sometimes I'm gonna need time to do my routine, do my compulsion. That might not ever go away, but I can work on getting it to be a lot more manageable. But some days are going to be worse than others. So if you can be a little patient with me. And also letting your loved one know how you want to grow, how you want it to look different. Sometimes there's some fear from loved ones about, you know, enabling or wanting you to grow or get help. Um, and talking about what your goals are so they can help you achieve them. And so you're letting them know that you want this to be a little bit more manageable too, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, so like kind of advocating for yourself, educating not about OCD, but what it looks like for you specifically,
Yeah.
and asking for like patience and empathy on the journey, that it's not going to be a quick fix, but I'm working in these ways, and here are ways that you can support it, and we can kind of be a team, and I don't feel like we're having to be in conflict about this.
And just even letting your partner know that you do have goals or that you do are interested in seeking therapy can be helpful for them because, I mean, they can help so much, but they're not the licensed professional. So they can provide support, but they can't do the treatment, right? So it helps them feel like they can help encourage you to therapy or whatever. Y'all can work on that together. But
Sure, sure. Okay, so what if you are on the other side? You're the maybe the partner or the friend or the mother or whoever, and this person and this important person in your life has OCD, but what do I do about it? What advice do you have for that person?
yeah. So of course, like we were saying at first, understanding what it is. You can read kind of the first blog that I wrote in this series to get like an overall view, and then asking your loved one what it looks like for them and what they're willing to share. It might take time for them to share some of those um, scarier, intrusive thoughts, but little by little, kind of working on practicing talking about it. And I think what's really important is just knowing that they're fears feel very real to them. So even if you can very clearly see that they, um,
If they're
th-
right.
this, yes, um,
Does
it,
arguing with the person, kind of showing them that it's irrational, is that a helpful thing?
it's not. Unfortunately,
Okay.
I know that we want our loved ones to see that this fear is extremely unlikely and we want them to be able to let it go, but that typically just makes them feel more at odds with themselves and with you and not understood because again the way that it comes on and attacks the nervous system, they're in a fight or flight response, so they're not able to see clearly until they can get grounded or more
Logic.
relaxed.
What you're
Yeah.
saying is it's not a problem with logic. It's really an issue with the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling safe and connected, it sounds like it's going to be more helpful to regulate the nervous system versus trying to like argue it. It's not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before you start trying to like challenge your thinking, just imagine feeling like your worst fear is happening almost every day.
Hmm.
That's what it feels like, which it's truly miserable. which is why the need for the compulsion feels so strong, trying to do whatever you can to try to make that thought go away. And then if you want things to be different, then find out how you can help avoid some of the triggers for the intrusive thoughts, or the best thing that you can do is do like healthy, unwinding, relaxing, distracting activities or coping skills together: walks, hikes, yoga, cooking, baking, all kinds of things that help to kind of get back into the body in a healthy way. Because again, so much of the nervous system's agitated. So anything to practice groundedness or mindfulness, coloring, art, puzzles, those are all great things to do. Instead of trying to just talk them out of the intrusive thought, work on just kind of giving them a little bit of patience, reducing judgment, and then maybe diverting a little bit. And then always just encourage therapy or treatment and refer out to someone else. And that is what.
The expert. Yeah, refer you out to the
Yeah.
expert. I love that. That's so good. I think a lot of people just don't know how to be helpful, and sometimes the ways that you do try to be helpful can actually make it worse.
Yeah, which is really hard. It's
I think it's so
frustrating.
important that you wrote this particular article as sort of a guide to how to talk about it and also how to listen, how to support. So I'm excited for people to read it and be able to kind of, yeah, just have more tools. So thank you so much for talking about this. I'm excited for your next articles on OCD, kind of getting even a little deeper into it. So thank you so
Yeah, of
much.
course.